We can't hear you. We can't hear you either.
Stand over here. Okay, so a couple housekeeping things as people continue to come in. If you did not sign up and pick a little packet of paper up, please do so. Second thing, we are being recorded, so those that could not join us today can watch online. That being said, there are microphones in the ceiling, and it hears everything. Everything. So if you don't want us to know that your dog had an accident this morning and that we recorded, please don't talk about it. If you need the restroom, out the same way you came in, instead of going right to the elevator, you're gonna go left, and the elevator, or the restrooms are right there. Unfortunately, I'm not as amazing as Seth is. I don't have coffee. I apologize for that. There is water and ice in the little kitchenette right here around the corner if you need it. In the event of an emergency, if we have to evacuate, please stay upstairs. And we're gonna muster at the far side of this front parking lot, kind of right across from Aldi's here, just so that we can get our head count and make sure everyone was out safe. So welcome to our CASPER 2024 training, CASPER 101. This is gonna be a little bit different than the CASPER trainings that Seth has done for you guys in the past, if you attended those. And Dayton's gonna go over overview of what a CASPER is, and then we'll jump into how ours is gonna be a little bit different this year.
Y'all bear with us, just give us a couple more minutes. For whatever reason, as usual, technology decides when it wants to work. So I need to allow this to update me real quick so I can have my notes as I talk to you guys. So give me just like 2 minutes while it updates.
There's also vending machines.
Yeah, no time.
Also, you're absolutely correct. There are vending machines if you need soda. I think there's a few snacks in there, candy bars, crackers, in the little kitchenette here as well.
What are y'all's names again?
Oh, so this is Seth too. No, I'm kidding. My name is Felicia Hopkins. I'm Seth's boss, division manager for public health emergency preparedness and response for Denton County Public Health. And Dayton, Arkansas, he is our SNS, Strategic National Stockpile Coordinator, and helps Seth and I with everything that we can't manage. So pretty much all the technology and stuff.
I promise I had this ready yesterday, and today, all of a sudden this morning, it says I need an update.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
That's the way it works always.
Every time,
Yeah.
every time.
We try to.
Technology is a marvelous thing until you need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Bobby Abernathy is here. He's recording for us, and he had to come in and get me set up so I could actually get to our PowerPoint this morning. I couldn't get it to work for that.
Well, IT usually rolls out the updates thinking nobody's gonna be working on the weekend.
That's it, yep. Friday night and Saturday, they do all of their updates, and we try our best to, throw a test or two in there for them and see if they can handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're inside, we're sitting down, it's not iced up, it's not 9 degrees.
Exactly. We don't have high winds in here, not too hot, not too cold, hopefully. Well, I'm gonna let Dayton take it away.
Now, Linda,
Yeah, no, I meant in a good way.
either way.
Do you want to do Q&A? Start asking questions. Random questions.
Yes.
They call it an icebreaker.
So how many in the room have actually participated in a CASPER either with Denton County or elsewhere before? So a few of you? Okay. Have any of you ever done any door-to-door survey or work of any kind, knocking on doors out in the community? So if you have never done that, it's an experience. It's exciting. There's things that go with that, but it'll be quite an experience, I think. I think we're gonna have a good CASPER this year.
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Denton, Arkansas. I am the SNS coordinator for Denton County Public Health. I have been here for, I'm approaching my 6th year with Denton County. So it's an exciting time for me. I had the opportunity to meet a number of you guys during TMS. So I will enjoy, again, working with you guys again on this CASPER, as this is a very important project that we're working on. Today what we'll be talking about is understanding what a CASPER is. We're going to talk about, learn about what a community assessment for public health emergency response. We're going to talk about the methodology. We're going to understand what the CASPER does to enhance Denton County, the preparedness level in the county. Okay, I know some of you guys may have already did it. We did one back in 2019, I believe it was. We did it in just the area of Denton, city of Denton. This time we're going to try to go out and we're going to do something a little different, something that we've never tried before. And we're going to need you guys. We're going to need you guys for the whole process, because now we're going to look at going into our unincorporated areas. This is something, again, that we've never tried because they're so spread out throughout Denton County. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to make sure that we're touching everyone in the county and making sure that we're addressing the needs. We're going to talk about we're going to introduce you to the organizational chart today. So we're going to show you the structure that we'll be using in order to successfully complete this CASPER. We're going to understand the roles and responsibilities. We're going to talk about that. For a lot of you guys, it'll just be as simple as you're the front line. So we're going to ask you to go out and knock on doors and complete the surveys. Some of you guys will be selected to be our leads. I know a number of you have experience leading pods before, so we'll lean on you guys that have been in here and in the mix with us to lead in this CASPER as well. So, like I said, everybody's going to play an important role for us to complete it, and the information that we'll get from the CASPER is very important. All right. So initially, what we want to start off is, what's a CASPER? Okay. Again, the CASPER stands for it's a community assessment for public health emergency response. I don't know where the S comes from in that, but
Probably assessment.
it doesn't say that in the actual definition. So that's why I say I don't know where the S comes from, but that's what it stands for. And in a CASPER, so what we'll do is divide up into specific teams, okay? In this process, we'll look at teaming up. We'll never send anyone out by themselves. So we'll create groups, we'll formulate groups, and we'll send everyone out to specific clusters. The goal of the CASPER is to gather information quickly. We're looking to get information to assist people if they are in a situation where they need help evacuating if a major disaster happens. Do they have the assistance they need to evacuate? Do they have the assistance they need if they have to shelter in place? Do they have the things that they need in order to survive until help gets there? Okay, so that's what we want to find out from people. We want to find out if there's people out there that have special needs that we need to go out and assist with. These unincorporated areas, they don't have a lot of the services like, they have access to them, but they don't know about them. Like the jurisdictions like the city of Denton, city of Louisville, Carrollton, those areas, they have what do you call it? They have access to resources.
Alert systems.
Yes,
All
they
kinds of
have access to resources that is quite easier to get a hold to than in those unincorporated areas. Unincorporated areas, we are responsible for it, the county. So that's why we want to get out and find out what the need is. We want to touch those areas because a lot of times we don't know. Especially we found out during TMS, during COVID, that those that are in those locations, they don't get the information as as readily available as those that are inside the city limits. So we wanna get that information, gather that information, so we'll have it. We wanna make sure their household is prepared for whatever the disaster is that they may face. Now, the promotion of a CASPER, so we wanna try to make sure people understand that we're not just out in their business, trying to get in their business. We're actually doing this for a specific reason in order to help them when the need arises. So we wanna make sure that we're talking about it in a positive manner and that we start to kind of talk about it now so that people, they may start to hear about it and understand that these people aren't just knocking on my doors, they're here for a reason. Now, a little bit about what we're going to do for 2024, fiscal year 2024. Now, we're scheduling this for April, so next month. We want to jump out and complete this. Now, we've been behind the scenes working on gathering information. We've been collaborating with GIS in order to make sure that we have everything solidified. GIS has been able to provide us with maps of the census blocks of those locations. Yes, sir.
What does GIS stand for, please?
GIS is our
Geographic Information Services.
We knew you guys would know. Good job.
That was a test.
Geographic Information Services.
Thank you.
They're the ones that do all of our technology. We let them handle all the technology aspect of this CASPER.
Mapping out.
Mapping it, they went in, they produced the census blocks. They went in and they selected the homes that we'll be knocking doors on. They did all the background information for us, collected the data for us to use. So, yes, sir.
Well, I probably should wait for you to finish your thought. I have a question when you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm reading through the material, and so it looks like we're only going to be knocking on 210 doors instead of 861, 690.
Correct.
All right.
Absolutely.
I was
Because-
wondering how you all were gonna get it done. I'm a new member.
No worries, no worries. Absolutely. And we're gonna touch on that as well. But yes, we will not be going out to neighborhoods and knocking on every single door. This CASPER, the way a CASPER runs is a double blind survey. So GIS goes in, randomly selects these census blocks for the unincorporated area. Then they go in and use some formula, and then they select specific homes in those census blocks. So we'll go more into it as we go on in the presentation, but yes, there are specific homes that we select, and all we need in order for a 100% completion rate in our CASPER is 210 surveys to be completed in those clusters. Again, this is very important right now because we've seen an explosion in Denton County. Our population, even though on this slide it says approximately 861,000, using the new census information, we have reached over 1 million people in Denton County. So that's why we need to get out and find out this information. So we are over 1 million people currently in the county of Denton. All right, so a little bit about a CASPER. The reason that they use CASPER, CASPER is really the best way for public health to get out into the community and find out information. And again, we're not knocking on every door, so we're able to utilize the specific data that we gather and then we extrapolate it over the county. And so by doing this in this double-blind survey method, we're able to garner all the information we need without any bias or anything like that to prevent or to, I would say, infect the data. So we want to keep everything clean and ready to go. One of the biggest challenges or one of the biggest parts of the CASPER that we want to get is to collect the health information. We want to find out and see if there are any vulnerable populations out there that need assistance, because those will be the people that we really need to get out and assist if there's a situation where we may have to evacuate. If there's anything that we need, we don't want to leave any of our residents there with need, and we not know that they have that need. So the sampling method utilizes extrapolation of the findings. We take all that information and we will, at the end of this data, and I can show you guys a dashboard that we use. GIS is mapping, and every survey that we complete, it'll automatically populate in a dashboard that we have. So we'll be able to map the area, all of Denton County, and we'll be able to make sure that we're sending those services to the areas that are in need. Anything you want to add to that? Any questions? Yes.
So you're looking for vulnerable populations, but I guess maybe this is too detailed, but if you're doing a random sampling of 210 households, how do you know that you're getting an adequate sampling of the vulnerable?
So CASPER is this is a methodology that is utilized by the CDC and ASPR. So it's something that's been it's been developed and improved over time. And this is one of the methods that they found is the easiest way to get out and gather information quickly.
And the ultimate goal is not to sample only vulnerable populations.
Right.
It's to gather information to identify where we have areas of vulnerable populations and
Got it.
areas of people who have needs that maybe we don't know about or we're not currently meeting, so that we can work towards filling those gaps, doing emergency preparedness outreach, finding resources that we can allocate to them, making sure that they understand exit routes and evacuation plans in the event of an emergency. How do they get emergency alerts, all of those things, so that we can help those vulnerable populations, because being rural in itself in our area is somewhat of a vulnerability, because you don't have access to the emergency alerts,
Tornado sirens.
the sirens, even first responders. I mean, I live fairly remote, and I know in the area where I live, we've had neighbors who've called 911, and it takes a considerable amount of time to get an ambulance or a fire department to their homes. So we
Identification.
Right, so we really need to identify where those pockets of vulnerability are, whether it's resource or disability, and then approach to meet those needs where they are.
And with
Do you have an estimate of how many people you're looking at in the unincorporated areas versus the, like Denton and Louisville?
So
the number of
what the households.
that's a great question. I don't know what the
I don't know off the top of my head, but I bet GIS could get that
Yeah.
information, and unfortunately, they couldn't be here. We had wanted to align them with, so they could answer questions like that. But unfortunately, they were not able to be here today, but we can find that answer out for you.
yeah, we can get that answer.
Do you also work with utility companies who actually have people registered for special needs like ventilator assistance, that type of thing?
That's actually a great point, but no, we haven't. You may want.
I'm making notes.
And this a lot of times,
And that's part of the
guys-
reason we want to do this specific to our unincorporated.
Yeah, well, a lot of times whenever we have these trainings or meetings, we kind of find out more ways to get information, because as you can see with a lot of heads in here, you know, that's a lot of information and a lot of knowledge that can assist. So that's a great point that we hadn't thought about. I know I hadn't.
Yeah, that was sort of what I was wondering, because it's like, I have a friend of mine at work, she lives in Aubrey, her daughter's like a paraplegic, medically fragile, and like, well, you're not gonna necessarily have a person with like special needs isn't going to be necessarily randomly distributed. You wouldn't know it if you weren't like actually talking to that household. So I was kind of wondering how that gets, added to your database. If you've got people with special needs, do they know that they should maybe, let you guys know, hey, this is what we have in our household in the event of a disaster?
And the only way we would know is to go out into the community and gather that information. And like I said, it helps to show, I guess the random survey helps to assist in finding those people, because a lot of times they don't even know they need assistance, and we just, until the disaster happens.
Right.
So by us getting out now and trying to get into the community, that's gonna help us get involved and try to, find those pockets of people that need the assistance.
We need to keep in mind too, that a person, if I had a child or an adult like that, I would have a network in itself that communicates with something with the city to let them know already. So by them
Absolutely.
partnering with them, that's where more information comes in, so.
And when we go out here, and we'll talk about it more as we go through it, we're gonna be providing pamphlets and a goodie bag of information. And once you have information, that kind of, the word of mouth passes on, and then people will know then, hey, let me communicate, let me contact Denton County Public Health and get the information that I need, because we do have services. So as we're out knocking on these doors, those that complete the survey, they will be provided with a goodie bag of information that they could utilize and help them during their times of need.
Another good avenue is home health agencies or DME for durable medical equipment, because they're the ones who are going to know those homes. And not everybody's going to be plugged into a system. And so that'll be another good resource.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So we're out knocking on doors in rural areas. I've lived in the Denton ETJ for a while, so I didn't live in town. I lived out in a kind of a semi-rural area. I wasn't used to people knocking on my doors, and I was suspicious of people who were in the neighborhood that I didn't know. And I had a variety of ways of defending myself. So how are we going to deal with this?
Absolutely. So we actually we had a meeting with the sheriff's office on Wednesday.
This is making me feel really comfortable.
No, it's part of the whole process. Because we have to have law enforcement come out. We don't have to have, but we like to have law enforcement come out and do safety briefs. We also, and again, we're moving a little ahead of it, but for the CASPER, we do send out Everbridge notifications. If you're not familiar with Everbridge notifications, those notifications go out when, like, let's say we have a West Nile virus, and we need to spray the community for West Nile. We send those alerts out via Office of Emergency Management. They send those out to the county or to those zip codes where we're going to be. So we're working with the Office of Emergency Management. We're going to be sending out not only social media blasts through Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, all of the social media apps. We'll be sending out that information a week ahead of time. We'll begin sending those blasts out so that people will be aware that we'll be in the community. We'll send those blasts out that come via your text phone, your phones. We'll send those out through Everbridge for those zip codes that we're working on, as well as there's a system that's here called iPause, where it'll send an alert to everyone, no matter if you signed up or not. So we are working with Office of Emergency Management to make sure people are aware that, hey, this is something we're doing. We're out in the community. We're going to be knocking on doors so that they'll be aware, and we've already, that's the first thing we talk about. And we'll drive those areas in the upcoming weeks prior to the start of it. Myself, Seth, Felicia, and Josh will drive those areas in order to get a lay of the land to see if there are areas that we should avoid. We are aware of a community there's one specific community that we're aware of that there are some concerns. So
There's a lot of environmental hazards.
there's a lot of environmental hazards. So we will not send you into areas that we feel are like that.
Well, no, that's not my point. There are people that are not troublemakers.
No.
But they're just not, trust me, when you live out there, nobody's knocking on your door. If you live out in the country, you know
Yes,
what
I was
I'm
gonna
talking
say, to
about.
that fact, to get to my home, you have to go through 2 keypadded gates to get to my house. And then once you get to my house, I live up in the country, I grew up in the country, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. We'll have safety measures in place. If you come to a home that you feel is not safe, we want you to notify us of that. stop, notify us of that. If you have a place that you come across my house and you're not gonna climb the fences, I hope you're not gonna climb the fences, that's not a great idea, please don't do that. You can't get into that property, you're gonna make notes of that and you're gonna let us know this property
Move to
couldn't be
the next.
accessed, and you're gonna move on to the next
So
home.
what'll happen in that, and I don't mean to cut you off, what'll happen, like you said, you'll notify us via cell phone. You'll contact the operations center in that area, because we're gonna break it up into 4 different
Field operations.
field operation centers. So you'll communicate with your specific operation center, they'll communicate with the FOC, which is the Public Health Operations Center. And then they will, GIS will then send you out a different home to go into search or to survey.
Please don't search.
We don't want
Survey, not survey. But that's the process. So if you walk up on a house, like I said, and we did this in the city of Denton, there were houses that it was a little sketchy. You know, maybe it was a lot of vegetation with dogs running around. If it's not safe, then you skip that home. You don't put yourself in any type of danger at all. You skip that home, report it, and we'll send out another home in order to take care of it.
How are we gonna ID ourselves to the homeowners?
When you're out, we're gonna be out in our uniform, so you're gonna have your MRC shirt, if you
And
have
or
your
hat,
hats,
your badge,
and your badge.
and a vest.
Yes, we will provide vests as well. So all of that, and that information will be communicated in those text blasts, so they'll be aware. You'll see people in blue shirts or,
Green vest or,
we're gonna communicate as much as possible, because that is
providing the
definitely.
flak vest, right?
No. Hopefully we don't know, but we're gonna provide as much information as possible in order to get it out there so we don't have to worry about it.
One thing I was just gonna say about the vests, they were yellow and we did it before. And when we approached the house, if people don't wanna answer the door, they're just not gonna answer the door. And then we would come back around and try again. But the vests were actually covering up our MRC stuff other than our badge, and people were hesitant just because they thought maybe we were with the city. It kind of was to our advantage too. They thought maybe we were with the city, something to do with utilities or something, so it got us through.
that's helpful, yeah.
But we'll be brightly colored vests, MRC t-shirts, hats, badges. And again, those blasts will go out, so hopefully we won't have those issues.
And as Dayton gets further through the presentation at the end of this, first, we just want to give you an overview of what a CASPER is, but we'll get to a lot of these questions you're asking, because our methodology is to the T with ASPER and CDC's methodology for a CASPER. But our approach this year, because we're doing such a large geographical area, is a little bit different. And so we'll get into all of that and answer a lot of your questions and tell you a lot of the questions you've already asked. We have that information for you as he winds down the overview of the CASPER.
All right, good questions. Any other questions right now? So when we get on here, uses of a CASPER. Again, the use of a CASPER is really just to gather data. It's to gather data. Right here, we're talking about the different phases. We have the preparedness phase, disaster season. We want to know about evacuations. We want to know that you have plans. The questions that you're going to be asking kind of tell us if people are prepared for those situations if a disaster should hit. We want to assess their personal readiness plans if they have any. Again, those are going to come from when you go out. You're going to get 28 to 30 questions. I think it's 30 questions. We don't want anyone to deviate from the questions at all. You will read them straight as they are written, so that we make sure that we're getting exactly, the same information each time. Again, we have the preparedness phase, the response phase, then we have the recovery phase. Right now, we're still in the recovery phase from COVID. Okay, so this is an opportune moment for us to gather this information, because the way things are going, or the way things happen so quickly, we want to be up and ready to go now that we've had a chance to breathe, now that COVID's over. now that COVID is not as, it's not as prominent, it's not as bad as it was. So now we have a little moment to breathe, but there's always different, situations or disasters lurking. So we want to make sure that we're gathering that information as quickly as possible. So now the information previously, like I said, we've done, before I got here, they did Little Elm. When I got here, we did Denton, and now we're gonna do the unincorporated. The information that we receive from these CASPERs, they don't just go into a file cabinet and go nowhere. We actually sat down with city leaders in Denton with the information that we had, and we were able to present that information to our court, commissioner's court, and make sure that everyone's aware of all the data and everything that's involved with this information. The impacts of the past CASPER, it allowed us to allocate scarce resources based on the driven data. That's how we were, you guys remember, when we were doing COVID, we traveled around the city in the beginning before we found TMS. Those of you guys that were with us, we were every little pocket in the county we were trying to go to. That information was utilized from the previous two CASPERs. We used the information from those CASPERs to know where we wanted to go. And that's when we knew who to contact and see if we can utilize their area, because there was a need there. It wasn't just us randomly, this came from the information that we had received before. Once you get out and people see that you are for them, that shows them that the support is there. So we want to make sure that we are providing reliable information. We're making sure we're providing the services that are needed, and we're also out in the community just trying to engage and make sure they know that there's no reason to be, hostile when you see government employees lurking or government volunteers lurking, because we're just here to help. The messaging, we'll understand better after the CASPER, our messaging. Did the Everbridge work? Did those alerts work when we sent those messages out? Were people hostile to us, when we went out? That tells us, hey, we need to figure out a different way to get this message out, to let people know that we're gonna be out. A lot of this information that we're gonna gather. Also, one extra thing that we threw into this CASPER that's not done in other CASPERs, we're gonna try to make use of our ham radio operators. Okay, this is something we've been talking about and we tried to implement in our previous pod earlier this fiscal year. We wanna start, one thing that we do, we offer ham licensing as an MRC volunteer. We offer that service. Now, we all have seen and experienced what happens when these cell towers go down. Okay, communication is basically impossible. Our ham radios allow us the opportunity to be able to communicate when those cell towers go down. So you guys being volunteers, having, us assisting with you guys getting your license, those that want it. And we're gonna have another class coming up here.
Hopefully before June.
Yeah. So if you don't have your ham operator's license, we will have another class, another opportunity. But during this CASPER, we're gonna set up ham operators in the 4 quadrants that we're gonna be working out of. And we're gonna communicate to those in the field. Anyone that has a handheld, they can take them out in the field. We're gonna try to utilize that in order to make sure that we have the communication redundancy in order for Denton County. And we're gonna start to be more, work those ham radios more frequently. That's part of the plan. So how many people in here are licensed ham operators?
How many actually use it on a semi-annual rate basis?
Daily.
Semi-annual?
Just once or twice a year even, outside of.
Funny.
See how many hands were up that have their license? And that's the thing, I've had when I first got here, I've used it one time, just one time, and that was it. We tried to, off the repeater over here, we were testing it. And that's it. And I told Seth, I said, we're doing a disservice to our volunteers because we should be testing that communication more often. And we're gonna start to do that with you guys more so that we can make sure that we're on target if the need arises. All right? But again, that's the method. We're gonna test the messaging and future planning. There's gonna be a lot that comes out of this. If we're successful, we're gonna brag to everyone in the nation if we're successful.
Not y'all.
We're gonna brag about it. But all we need is 168 total surveys completed, just 80% of the 210. That's all we need, right?
Right. 100% is the ultimate goal. Gold
But if
star.
we hit 80%, we're gonna brag to everybody in the nation that because not a lot of people are able to complete these CASPER successfully.
And bragging rights aside, which will all go to you guys, bragging rights aside, 80% will allow us to extrapolate that information
Yes.
and then generalize it across our unincorporated areas so that we can see where to put those resources and stuff out.
And again, this will help us prepare, I got you. This will help us get the information we need so that our outreach team, because we have a excellent outreach team and they try to get out in the community and go to those areas and really provide the knowledge and the resources to those people in need. We're gonna be assisting them with that and they're gonna come out and help us as well. So hopefully we can be successful in this CASPER. All right, so what a CASPER is not. This is the easier, before I go there, you had a question.
I was just gonna say, I cut my spring break short down in College Station. I was down babysitting grandkids. My son is a firefighter. When I told him, I said, I've gotta be back by Saturday morning because I've got a CASPER class to go to. And he goes, you are kidding me. He's a fireman. I said, no, we're gonna be doing, emergency preparedness in April. He goes, doggone it. Bryan College Station needs to do that because if we do it, we can get another fire station.
Listen, every time we go to our state meetings or this survey process is something that everyone wants to complete. We've done a couple of them. We have a little bit experience. You guys have made it possible for us. We can talk about these things. Now, I know we didn't get the full 80% in Denton, but just the fact that we're able to get a lot of support and go out and do this, we are one of the better health
It
departments in the
proves to
state.
the government that, you need the money to be able to do
Right.
this.
Yes.
And that's part of it, and I'll tell you a little background before we talk about what CASPER is not. For the CDC, if you can go to the CDC, look up CASPER. For the state of Texas, there are less than 20 CASPERs that have been completed and reported out to the state and the CDC. There might be a lot. There could be hundreds and hundreds in the state of Texas. I have no idea. But the CDC and the state of Texas only have, I want to say it's 19, but it's less than 20 CASPERs that have been completed and reported. Whether they met 80% or 100% is aside. They have not been reported. So one of our internal goals is, regardless of whether we meet the 80% or 100%, is for us to complete our after action report, complete our reporting, and report that out to the state of Texas and to the CDC. Because you're absolutely right. That's where internally, that's where we can show the government, we have these needs. We have these vulnerable populations. We have a lack of resources. We have all of this very large geographical space that can't access these things, and we get more funding for it. So that's part of the behind the scenes.
He was jealous. He was like, can I go?
He's welcome to come up and
Yes.
observe. We have a couple of other counties that are interested in coming in and just watching, so by all means, have him contact me or Seth.
I promise you, I like to brag on you guys.
Oh gosh, we do.
I brag so much about TMS. But anyway, what a CASPER is not though. CASPER isn't, a lot of times we do go out, well, each time we've gone out with goodie bags. We make sure to provide as much information. We'll go to every department in the county in order to gather information to put in the bags anything that they want to report out, any services they have going. So we're going to provide them with a goodie bag of information. And one of the things that, some questions that we got was about food. Are we taking any food? Do we take any water? Anything, to the people, We don't take any of that. We will provide them with information in order to get resources. That's what we want to do. It's not a promise to anyone that they'll get any services. It's just that we're going to introduce them to the information so they can go and apply for themselves. So that's all we want to do at this CASPER. Any questions on that? It's pretty simple. We're not giving out free stuff.
We're just providing information and gathering information from you, that's all.
Yes. All right, so the teams, again, we'll be broken up into, it says here 23 interview teams. So we're gonna try to, we have 30 clusters, but we're gonna do 23 teams. That's just a rough estimate. It's a rough estimate. We wanna do groups of 3. All right, just so it's gonna be a little more spread out. In Denton, we were able to walk because depending on the neighborhood, some neighborhoods in the cluster I've seen, you can park and you can walk them, because they're the new developments and it's really real easy laid out. Some you may have to drive from point to point because it's so spread out. But we want to divide into 3 teams, 3-person teams. We'll need a total of approximately 80 volunteers. Right now, we're sitting at about 50. So we need quite a few more for this. So we're going to send out more blasts. You may receive blasts, but Seth is going to send out more blasts to try to gather more people. And we'll have another training as well prior to the date. But we'll have us guys, myself, Felicia, Seth, Joshua, and any other public health leadership will be here, located in the Public Health Operations Center. And then we'll have, again, we've broken it up into 4 quadrants. We're going to have our MRC field team leaders. Again, those are the people that have the experience that have run pods before. They have shown that they've been here a little while longer. So those are the people that Seth will be involved in selecting those MRC team leaders. And then we'll have our local emergency management will be on site. Hopefully, if I don't know how many they'll provide for us, but we're going to have the sheriffs are going to come out to each quadrant and perform their safety briefing, and they'll be monitoring the areas that we're going to provide them with all the information for where we're going to be, and they'll be monitoring the area so that if there are any phone calls, which we know there will be, there's people knocking on my door, they'll be able to quickly assess that situation. But any questions on the teams? Again, we're going to do our best. We'll do our best to get 3. In the past, we've had 2-person teams go out, but it will be a minimum of 2 people going out in the field. This is just a breakdown. Not to worry, the little numbers here, they're just internal. We'll provide packets with all information to every team, so they'll have, we're going to utilize, when we go out, we're not going to use paper this CASPER. I know you guys.
It will be available if we have a technology fail.
But we're gonna use iPads, the same iPads like we had at TMS. These are the exact same ones. Unfortunately, they are drained.
They've been in a box.
They've been in a box, packed away. But we're gonna put the survey onto each one of these tablets. We don't anticipate that they'll have internet access, so you'll be offline filling out the surveys, and we'll go through that when we get to that point. But the point is we're moving away from paper the best that we can, and we're going to go to technology. It'll make us, when we extrapolate the data, it'll make it easier. Again, it's hard to see up here, guys, but we have 28 clusters, and then you squint real tight, you can see these little red areas. These are our unincorporated areas here. And then up at the top. So as you can see, it's pretty spread out. Very small clusters, yes.
Which one is the one you said we shouldn't go into?
You're welcome on your free time to go there anytime you want. But there is one area that I have huge concerns about, environmental safety. It's dirt roads with lots of potholes.
Well, that lets Sanger out.
But it's a very tight community, lots of potholes. They have a lot of dogs unleashed because they have like open areas, not a lot of fences, and it's an older community.
Yeah, it just
For
has some
me,
hazards.
as prior nurse, I don't want my volunteers in any kind of situation that I'm not available to help them immediately. And because this is the ground is uneven and it's lots of potholes and stuff, I'm not out there to be with you guys to make sure if you fall, I'm like a mom. So we're just gonna avoid that section. We're gonna use flyers and mail to participate with that community rather than send people in the ground.
Yeah, but they're spread out again. We're gonna break them up, and I think he may show into different quadrants. You have the southern, eastern, northern, and western areas. So Felicia will probably take the northern area as she
Is from that area.
lives in that area, but we'll break it up, try to get it close to where they live, and that way, we're working on getting lunch for you guys. That's something that we've been working on with the county.
Yes.
In order to, they don't like to give us money for food, but.
But the courthouse is very supportive of this.
They are
Our
very-
judge and commissioners
The
are very
judge is
supportive.
very supportive of it, so.
And so we're working with them to get our PIOs out to get some pictures before you guys go into the field. We don't want any field pictures. And
What
provide
you have to
lunch.
do is say, would you rather buy lunch for the volunteers or pay overtime to staff to go and do this?
Well, that's a valid
Point.
approach.
But no, they have been, we actually met with Don a couple of days ago, and they're very supportive, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do provide us with some Jason's Deli or something, some lunch out there. But 28 clusters, 210 households, that's 100% completion. If we were to do 100%, it would be 210 households. But we only have to get 80%. So that's 168
How many households are in those 28 clusters?
That's the answer we don't know the total number for. GIS would have it, but we don't. I can tell you that the clusters are based off of our census blocks, and it should be 30 clusters. However, we're at 28 because 3 of the clusters it kept popping up. It was repeated over and over and over, the same cluster. And so we had to eliminate those.
Some of these clusters.
Instead of using it 3 times, we just have the one cluster.
And some of these clusters, you can look by the size, they'll have
2
maybe,
houses.
maybe 10 houses. Some clusters have 700 houses. It's just, we don't have that. GIS knows it.
Yeah.
But even on theirs, they don't account for new neighborhoods that are popping up in these unincorporated
That may
areas.
have ability to house 500 houses, but only 40 are currently built.
Right. So we won't know until we get out there. We'll go drive it.
We'll know next week, maybe.
But yeah, 2-stage cluster sampling, 30 random clusters. As you see, we only had 28. 7 in each cluster. We only need 7 houses per cluster
To participate.
7 houses. So if it has 700 houses, we still only need 7 from that 700 in that particular cluster. Okay, each cluster we need 7 completed surveys. The interviews, guys, they only take maybe 10-15 minutes. Like I said, 30 questions. They're pretty quick, yes or no. I don't think there's any fill in the blank type answers, maybe 1 or 2, but they're pretty quick.
So you guys probably know that, but like, we have to get, if you're giving us address XYZ, they're not home, but neighbor over here next door is willing to answer, does that count?
No, it's a.
Can't do it.
And that's,
it's
we're
every
trying really
third
hard
line or-
to stick to the methodology, so in that case, and so that's why we have an alternative plan, a different approach this
We'll
year.
do it different than everybody.
Yep,
Let's go to the next one. Let's see if it's
So you-
on here.
yes.
So the total address is selected, it's higher than 210, but when you get to 210, you can quit. Is that correct?
If we have 210 surveys completed,
Yeah.
we can stop.
Yeah, but you've got a potential of maybe 500 houses to go to,
Possibly,
Oh, okay.
possibly,
Yes.
yeah.
but you stop at 210.
But once we've reached 210 minimum, then we're good. Then you guys have,
And a dangerous area, Brent said he would do that.
oh,
area.
you're, excellent.
Sign him up.
I'll get you some cleats and umbrella, just in case of rain.
Well, as I listen to y'all, remember rural route rules apply here. You know, be gracious, don't run up on somebody's house, don't open gates and not close gate, listen to Tim McGraw's songs, rural route rules apply.
I'm gonna say, if a gate is there and it's closed,
Yeah, you
let's
don't
move
know
on.
which one.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Let's not open any gates and go inside of
No
any,
climb fences.
no private fences, none of that. We'll just report it back and we'll select another home.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, oh,
Rural route
absolutely.
rules apply here.
Absolutely.
Spanish,
Oh,
other languages.
yeah.
So
So our survey.
survey.
On
yes.
your iPads, you'll have the option, if you are bilingual, you will have the option for English or Spanish.
Yes.
If you come to my home and I speak Vietnamese, we will have a resource. I don't know if we'll have a tool with you in the field or if you will have to call in to me at the operations center, but we will either be able to assist you right there with the client, either translating and you marking their answers on the English form and notating that it was in Vietnamese, or we will provide them with a way to contact us and we will help them with the survey. But we were only able to get it translated in English and Spanish, but
That's
we
the
will
most
have both options in the
Common,
field.
but, yeah. I figured you guys thought of that.
We
having dealt
try to
with
think
all
of a lot
the-
of things, but
I was just thinking about the gentleman that spoke Russian and was deaf, so
yes, yeah.
coming through TMS,
well-
so, you know.
Man.
He will be sent to Denton for assistance.
We do have electronic handheld devices that we are we're testing, the
Testing.
clinic is testing over there, so we may have access to a couple of those.
For use, maybe at the operations center or.
I don't know how they work, but they say you just talk into these devices and they
Translate.
translate it right
Yeah.
there for you.
Translates, spits it back out.
Mhm.
Some of
They're
the
testing those.
translators, automatic
I used
translators
something
are.
similar to that when I was volunteering down at Medical City, Louisville.
Louisville.
It worked terrific.
Oh, that's good to
So,
hear, because
yeah,
we
they-
haven't talked to the clinic much about it. I haven't.
I'm
I hadn't
gonna
either.
tell you that some of those automatic translators, especially if you have like a more complicated older language, they don't work as well.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
my parents spoke Latvian when I was growing up. I can understand it perfectly. Speaking is a different matter. But I sit there and laugh when I read one of those automatic translators because they don't have it right.
Yeah.
What is allowable for personal protection?
Please don't mace or shoot anyone.
So,
We-
Pepper spray or anything like that for dogs?
so
They've done this before, so I will let the experts speak.
as the county, we cannot,
Encourage or
Condone,
condone.
encourage.
I would just say, do what's necessary to protect yourself while you're out in the field.
You're being recorded.
But don't tell you about it.
Oh, somebody's gonna tell us about it. Oh, yeah.
Make sure you're safe
Yes,
in the field.
make sure you're safe.
Like I said, if it's
That's the
sketchy,
bottom line.
if it's
There's,
sketchy,
what you're saying, is there anything forbidden?
The county does have
can't
a
officially say
policy
that.
against handguns in county buildings or on county property. Outside of that, I do not know, but that is something that I'm gonna put it on my list right now to
It
check.
just,
To
I
check.
just wanted to know if there's anything official, that's all.
carrying firearms while performing volunteer duties.
So that's
I'll just say that,
firearms.
But
Pepper spray, I know a lot of ladies carry pepper spray on their keychains and things like that for dogs and
It's just
Any-
better to avoid any situation that you're gonna get in
right.
pepper spray.
If you feel better having something like pepper spray in your backpack,
because we want you to feel comfortable, so
And
whatever
safe.
makes you feel comfortable and safe.
but if you walk up to a house and your immediate thought is, ooh, get that out.
Turn
in
and
my
walk
pocket
away and
instead
go
of
to
in
the
my
next
backpack.
house.
We don't want you to go there. We want you to make a note on your clipboard and say, house looked unsafe, reported to command.
Again, it's just breaking out, showing you the 4 quadrants that we'll be performing these surveys in. All right, so here's where we're talking about the difference in prior CASPERs. We went out, we gave you an iPad, or you used the papers in order to fill out the survey. This time, we're trying to move a little bit into, the new century. We're gonna do a little different. First round of surveys, we're gonna knock on doors, complete surveys if they're available. If no answer, we're gonna leave a door hanger. We're gonna leave a door hanger with a QR code and information telling them, hey, we came by, we wanted to visit with you. Contact this phone number, scan this QR code. They can complete the survey without us ever having to go back out.
That's good.
All they have to do is just complete it. So we're gonna leave those door hangers, make sure they're brightly colored. I think we're gonna do yellow.
Bright yellow.
But we're gonna leave a door hanger if we're unable to complete a survey. So what that does, when they receive that door hanger, they have 5 days.
5
They
days.
have 5 days. That survey will be open for them to go in and complete that survey. So we're hoping that utilizing this method, we'll be able to obtain the 168 minimum in order to be successful. Now, after that time frame is up, we're gonna go out a second time. Okay, so our first date will be April 6th. The second date is April 17th. April 17th? Okay. So the second round of surveys, we're gonna knock on doors, we're gonna try to complete the surveys, and we're gonna, again, leave those door hangers. If they're not available, it'll be available for them 5 days again. Once that 5 days ends, the CASPER is done, and we have to analyze and look at all the information we've gathered. We've done the best that we could at that point. But we feel like, and we talked with
Cochise, Arizona.
Public Health Department in Cochise, Arizona, and they were the ones, they had some very good, they were the ones that encouraged us to look at the unincorporated areas as well as utilizing these QR codes. And they told us, very rural area they were in, a lot of the things that you guys are bringing up right now, they faced those issues, but when they said once they got out there, it wasn't a real problem. They were just, nervous going out into those areas because they never went out into the rural areas. They were always in the city limits when they did their CASPER. So the QR codes will allow people the opportunity to go in, and we expect for them to call us and blow our phone lines up, and we want that. We want them to call us because that gives us an opportunity then to talk with them and get all the information out as possible. So, you got a question?
Any reason why Saturday and Wednesday? I feel like Wednesday is harder to find people at home.
So usually we've only done it on Saturdays, and typically what happens, this is the state of Texas. Texas, they love sports on Saturdays. They love sports Saturday morning. So what we found we've had some success, but a lot of times people are either running out the door with their kids, taking them to basketball, soccer, football, what have you, going fishing. So it's kind of, we're trying to see, we're gonna do a Saturday and we're gonna do a work day. And we just picked, I don't even know how we fell on Wednesday.
Wednesday just happened to be the day that it fell on. And And our goal was to try to pick 2 different days to see if we can get, the people we missed on Wednesday, maybe we can get, or on Saturday, maybe we can get them on Wednesday afternoon when they're coming home with the kids before they go back out to church or out to football practice or basketball practice or whatever, to try to get 2 separate windows and catch any people that we miss. Because we do know if you have kids, grandkids, Saturday mornings is
It's hard.
busy. But also work day, unless you're a stay-at-home parent or you work a night shift, you're not home during the day. So our goal is not early morning Wednesday, but maybe late afternoon Wednesday, and then morning on Saturday. So we have 2 different time frames and 2 different times of the day of the week, or days of the week.
And with it, again, the QR codes are gonna be hopefully that catch-all. That's what we're hoping. Just going out to the community, putting those door hangers up, even if we don't reach anybody, we're hoping they will call the number, go on the website, or, because we know people are hesitant to scan QR codes. If we send out enough information, the hope is that they'll understand and know that this is from the county, and they'll go ahead and complete the survey. Yes.
So the phone number is open, they'll call in and you'll do the survey over the phone if they call in.
We'll provide them information on how to complete the survey.
Okay.
But we can also assist if needed. The phone number we're gonna put is actually going to be our new, that evolved from all the work you guys did at TNA, at COVID.
Yes.
The county has gotten grants and they're working on
We have a small
molding it
call
out.
center now.
We have a very small, two-person currently.
They just
Call
hired the
center.
third, started on Wednesday.
Good. I didn't even see you sneak in. Okay, so they've just hired a 3rd person. So a 3-person call center. So our QR codes are gonna be underlined with the phone number to our call center. Our call center's gonna be available to either answer questions, so that person can then go back and scan the QR code and do the survey on their own. Or if they need assistance or they need additional translation, a different language or something, then our call center individuals will be able to assist them with that. Or they can punt it over to us and we can assist in some way. Yes, ma'am.
On the flyers on a house that maybe has a gate or the locks and things, would we be leaving those maybe in their mailbox to hopefully have those people?
Yes, excellent question. That is my goal, and that is something I wanted Seth to convey to you guys, that, again, back to my house, I have a gate, you can't get through it. But I have a mailbox and I have a little box that you can leave packages in at next to my gate. So if you come to my house, it looks safe, but there's a gate, you can't come see me, you can leave the QR code. And if this first round, if I don't respond, then the team is going to then meet with GIS and meet with leadership and determine, okay, do we take this house off the list? They were not responsive, we can't get to their home, and use another house, or do we want to try a second time? Great question.
Excellent.
And again, this is, we're talking about communication. At all times, we want to be in communication with everyone that's out in the field. So you will be direct communication with your particular field operations center, and then they'll communicate it back here to our public health operations center. So again, we're testing the redundancy of hopefully we'll get those radios out and program this week. But we definitely want to, again, become more proficient with our ham radios. That's something that we started, again, with the pod earlier, and we want to continue it as we see cell towers.
Well, and those of you that participated with our flu pods back in the fall, we tested our ham radios then, and some of our locations, we were able to use them, the equipment was great. Other locations, we had some issues with the equipment, so we want to identify those gaps that we have, whether it be on our training and experience or technology or our device failures, so that we can overcome those as we move forward.
Okay, now this is talking about the questionnaire, the survey that you'll be completing. The questionnaire will focus on assessing the preparedness level of households. Again, we'll use the iPads and we'll use survey 1, 2, 3 to complete the surveys. The information that you'll be gathering will be demographic information, their communication methods, their physical and behavioral health. There is questions about mental health on on the survey. Felicia's gonna pull up the survey and we'll go
You want me to
through it.
pull it up now? Or
Yeah,
you
we
wanna go
can.
through this?
Let's go ahead and go through it. Again, 10 to 15 minutes.
Sorry,
complete the
mouse is
survey.
out of control.
So when you open up your iPad, this is exactly what you'll see in the survey. Yeah, just do it.
So we'll walk through this really quick. So the cluster, you're gonna have this information because we're gonna provide you with what cluster you're in and what house, whether it's house number 1, house number 18, or whatever. So
You, like I said, we'll give you a packet, manila folder with the information in there, because you'll have to put what specific cluster you're working. Then you'll identify the house number in that cluster. You'll indicate their address. Now, and we tested this yesterday, even without internet access, this will populate the address. Now, in the event that some of these addresses are new, when I say populate the address, you start putting it in and it'll complete it. It'll give you a drop down and you can select it. Some addresses are too new. They're not in GIS's system. So you will have to manually just enter that information in. You'll put the address, comma, see,
and it'll
there's
show
that
you.
drop down. But some of them won't have that because the addresses are too new. So you'll just still enter it, then you'll put your name, the surveyor.
So the house number is the number
in the
that we
cluster
have in our
that
list, not the
correspond.
number of the house.
Correct.
Not the
Correct.
address.
So your cluster will be 1 through 28, and then your house number, you'll have 7 households within that cluster. So I put 19. That's
How
not
many
a real
1 through 7?
It's gonna be 1 through 7.
It'll be
exactly.
1 through 7, I think. Listen, GIS knows that better than me, but I'm assuming 1 through 7. And then your address. The address is really the most specific personal information we're gonna ask. We're gonna ask about any,
We don't need their name.
we don't need their
anything
name,
like
don't
that.
need their date of birth, don't need their social, don't need their phone number. We're gonna ask things like mental health, but we're not gonna ask education level, we're not gonna ask
Let's see it.
any of those things.
Go through it.
And then right here, okay, so before we go any further, you have to get an agreement from them to carry on. If they say yes, you'll submit it and it'll go on into the survey. But if you click no, it'll end it right there. Okay, so we'll just document it and then we'll move on to the next house.
If you accidentally hit no, can you go back?
Yes, you'll be able to just produce
Open a new
another,
survey.
open another survey. All right, so this is the start of the survey. So first question, type of home or structure, single family home. How many people live in the home? Okay, including yourself, how many people living in your household? Breaks it down by age. Okay, do you or any member of the household identify as Hispanic or Latino? Then we ask the race question, what race does the majority of your household identify as? And again, we're gonna read them straight as it says. What is the main language spoken in your household? That's question 6.
And if you other, can you enter that in?
Click on other.
Okay, that's awesome. Because there are a lot of people from like,
Scroll up a little bit.
there are other countries here too, not just
And
the ones listed.
absolutely, and we've noticed that there is a Venezuelan contingency that has started to populate here as well, but what we've identified are the top languages that we know currently
Yeah.
Correct.
in Denton. Those are the most
In
prevalent.
household unit, you had single, multiple,
The first question?
mobile, and other. Okay, so what is an other?
So
Car,
RV?
an RV,
Okay.
a car.
A garage?
A car, a garage apartment.
Okay.
something that just doesn't
A
fit.
tent. Yeah, anything that doesn't fit in those traditional things. And even if you're like, well, it's kind of a single family unit, but it's like a Home Depot shed. thing, make a note, we're okay with that, just make a note, and then we'll decipher it on the backside.
So multiple is an apartment, a townhome, a condo.
A quad, a duplex,
It's not the second, it's not the apartment over the garage in
correct.
at someone else's house, you're
Correct.
actually
The
gonna.
mother-in-law flat behind the house.
That's other.
That's another, okay.
And it's just your best judgment as well. If you get there and you're not sure.
Encampments, right?
No.
I just have a quick question. It's just how I think. I like to get things done if I can. And I work in an environment where I've got friends who speak Russian, Portuguese, all these languages. Is it okay to get them on a three-way and have them at least explain something to them?
Unfortunately,
Yeah, like especially with Portuguese.
unfortunately, we would not be able to utilize anyone that
Okay.
we don't know
Okay.
the background check.
Right, if we have the devices or they have a phone, because in my work with a lot of communities that don't speak English as a primary language, a lot of their phones, they already have them set up for, everything is converted to Korean or Burmese, or if that language is available. So if they have an app or something on their phone that can translate, that's okay. Or you can call the.
Initiate it. You don't, you could just
Right.
ask.
But because it's public health and emergency driven information, we don't use like the 12-year-old in the back room or
Data
Aunt Lily
integrity
down the
kind of
road.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Six questions.
I didn't notice, if they don't want to give us the demographic information about maybe the race or whatever,
It says.
Refusal, they
Okay.
don't
Okay.
know or refusal.
okay.
All right, so there.
If you can tell by looking at them, do you?
Still wanna ask.
You still wanna-
You may identify things.
Right.
In order for the survey to be valid, we have to ask the questions exactly as they are.
Exactly the same.
Exactly. And whatever they respond, you can look at me and see that I am not a Chinese woman. But if I tell you I'm Asian, then you have to mark Asian.
Yep. All right, and then here, this section of the question 8 starts the communication section. Do you have a working telephone? Do you have access to the internet? What's your household's main source of information regarding the new? See, this is a hard one for me, guys, because it only allows you to pick one. Where do most people get their information from?
Right, so when you take telephone, some folks still have telephones.
Yes.
But do you mean cell?
Either one, any kind of,
Because,
yeah, and if they ask, you can tell them either one. Which way could I call you if there was an emergency, or you call me if there was an emergency?
Okay.
Yeah, you can only pick one of those?
Yeah, and I'm making a note to see if I can reach out to GIS and ask.
Main source.
I mean, it does say main source, but I don't know if I don't have a main source.
Okay,
Just pick the best one.
if, like, you're giving me the survey and I'm going, why the hell do you need to know what my telephone number is? You know, your usual rural pushback, like being afraid of being put on some Big Brother list. Are we allowed to say they just need this in order to?
Now, remember, we're not gonna ask for their telephone.
No, I understand, but if they're still pushing back because they're like worried about why we're asking.
You can put refusal to answer. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't get into.
Well, you're not asking for the phone number anyway.
Yeah, so my response would be, I understand your concerns. I don't need your phone number today. I would not ask you for that. But if you have a phone and you could call in a case of emergency, we'd love to know that you do have a phone. If not, that's okay. And just move on from the question.
Yeah, just explain that, like she said.
Yeah, I just was wondering how much we were allowed to explain.
Right, you can, if they have a question about the particular question that you're asking, you can answer it with the knowledge that you have. If you don't know the information, you can call in and get it. You know, you can use the communications and find out real quick, but
And if
we don't wanna
there's a
give bad information, but if you know the answer to the question, then just go ahead.
If you notice that a question is inflaming an individual quite a bit, they're getting very upset with it, just say, I understand, and I apologize for the question. Let's move on. Do you have any internet?
Okay.
And Market is refused. Okay, so main source, I'm gonna see if we can change this. It is the main source, but as Dayton said, Dayton's my main source of information. I'm never on social media, don't have time for newspapers and all of that. We don't watch TV, so
It's always internet, online. As soon as you sign into the computer, it pops up with news feeds, so.
But there's a lot of options here. Some of our aging adults, it might be church or their place of worship or their family and friends.
But this particular question though, family, it allows people to know, it allows us to know where do we need to send information to make sure you get it. So this is telling us if we need to send it to the churches, we need to communicate with different agencies, this will tell us what we need to do and how we need to get the information to them.
So I did want to show here,
Well, not to overcomplicate, but what kind of information are you?
Disaster information, in case you have to evacuate, emergency information.
Well, maybe we ought to phrase it that way because.
The question does say emergency.
it does.
It says disaster and emergency.
Main source regarding news, disaster, and emergency.
Okay. The best way to contact them.
But I did want to show here, not social media, it doesn't do. I was interested if it did for social media. But if you put in city alert, it has another
Name of the alert system. And there are several, Denton, I know, like I said, we have Nixle, we have
Everbridge, we have iPaws, and some of the smaller.
City of Denton has Code Red or something.
Yeah, Sanger
No,
has
they
Code
moved to
Red.
Everbridge.
Sanger
And so
has-
some of your outlying jurisdictions that might bleed out into the unincorporated areas right around them may have Code Red or something that they get information from. But for the county, we only have a couple, but
That
if you click
explains
city
why I
alert,
got
it'll show.
2 different calls for the thunderstorm when I usually only get 1 call.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those 2 different.
Because there's one, like I said, the iPaws, it's gonna go to everybody in the county with a cell phone. That's the main one. It's basically new.
It's pretty new. Some of the bigger cities, Houston, Austin, New York, I think some of them have used systems like this. But this, anyone in the area. So when we were talking to the emergency managers the other day, they were telling us that if you were driving from Oklahoma to go to Austin for a basketball game and you passed through Denton and we had a major 40-car pileup crash on the highway, as you came into our area, you're gonna start getting those iPod alerts because you're now in our area. And this could affect your travel and stuff.
But that's only used for emergency.
Yes, real emergency. So this one is how you prefer. So before was how do you normally get it? So I normally get it through social media, but how do you prefer to be receiving that information? Well, I would prefer to receive it through a text message or an alert system.
That's how you gotta get it to me. I need a text message. All right, so next, do you or does anyone in the household have any of the following? This is where we're trying to find our vulnerable population, the needs here. Again, if they refuse to answer, we'll just select refusal to answer.
Or even it could be, you said you had someone who was Russian and also hearing impaired?
Could you go back up for a second? So you're basically measuring ability to interpret information. You're not looking at any other kind of disability in this question.
For this particular question.
Okay,
Correct.
got it.
So now we're talking about medical
Got it.
conditions. And so if you leave them blank, we're gonna assume that's no, but ideally you would just mark no.
What was the question?
Sorry.
This one, how often in the past 12 months would you say your household was worried or stressed about having enough money to pay for a rent or mortgage? Yeah, this one, as you start going 14, how often would you say your household was worried or stressed about having enough? These questions may be a little interesting.
To see, and I know that these are a couple of the questions that, like our commissioners and our judges and elected officials are
This
interested in.
is what they're worried about.
Because they're concerned about our community members that are not able to pay their rent, or not able to buy, or having to choose between rent and food. But we don't know about it, so we haven't started looking for resources to assist there.
But some of those resources that would be available are gonna be in that goodie bag?
Information to contact places to get.
Right.
If we have it available and they provide it to us, it'll be in the goodie
It'll be in the bag.
And if it's not available currently, or we didn't have a resource for it, there'll be information in there that they can call the health department and we'll try to help them find a resource. They can call emergency managers and they can try to help find resources. So there'll be someone they can reach out to.
But if they get upset because we're asking the question, we could say.
Oh, yeah, I see
we're
what you're
going to be
saying.
leaving them with information in case they do need it.
I don't know. I don't know where it came from.
See, that's that news feed I was talking about. All right, so.
Question here.
Yes.
None of those questions are considered HIPAA violations because there's no name.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because so they're heading down that path, but without a name, it doesn't matter.
Right, and actually I met with our public health's compliancy officer, division manager Thursday. And him and I went through these questions and he asked all the same things: no name, no date of birth, no social, no phone number. The house address is there, but there's no specific person information, and this information will all be housed on our drives securely at the county. So there's
So if somebody were to, an EMS unit were to approach the house, they know that somebody in there has these conditions.
Actually, they won't
don't
have
know who.
access. No one will have access to this other than Denton County Public Health internally, and even then, the entire division won't, or the entire department, only preparedness internally. So when we get all of this information and we evaluate it and analyze everything and pull out all the information, generalize it to the unincorporated areas and build out a report and an after-action report as well, we will give that report with that generalized analytical data, but it won't even have addresses and information. So EMS can't even use this information.
Copy that. Okay,
It's
thank you.
only to generate that information for us.
If you identify an area that has no access to internet, so like during COVID, they would set up mobile hotspots, is that an option for future use?
That's something I would like to see. I mean, I'm part of the unincorporated areas, and I know that was a huge issue with our kids during COVID.
Line of sight internet's horrible.
So, getting this information, we'll be able to tell the county that we need to start looking at alternative plans, like mobile hotspots, or pulling in companies for affordable internet and access in those areas.
Yeah, I lived up on East Lone Oak Road during COVID after my husband died. And I love Nortex because they partnered with a federal program to bring in fiber optics and 5G internet.
Yeah, that's great. And so that's what we want to know, where we need to start building partnerships to get those resources in, or for the county to have a backup option in the case of an emergency. Okay, does any of your household need any of these specific things? And this is where we'll get information about the home health care, the oxygen, vents, any of that kind of stuff.
So just asking those questions, from what you just said about the report's going to be generalized, that's not to make that person feel comfortable that now we know in that household somebody's on dialysis.
Right, because
So
we
that's-
don't know their name or any
Right, so that's-
information. Like if I have 8 people in my house and you ask me that question and I say, yes, one person's on dialysis, you don't know who that person is, what their age is, nothing about them. All I've told you now is that someone in this house is a medically fragile person who, in the event of a blackout or an ice storm that like puts them where they can't leave home or get access to anything, we need to get a resource to them. There's someone who needs assistance because they're.
So then they should feel comfortable that that somebody knows that they're going to need that specialized assistance?
Well, remember, our job is not to get specific
Okay.
service to them. We're to find out where services are needed in our county so that we can start getting resources and services out there. So.
You still need to
They
take.
should
first
already have
response.
I'm just thinking if a tornado hits or something, they should feel
Right,
comfortable.
right.
Yeah.
And there'll be information on other programs. The state has the STEER program, which is for people who have, that are medically fragile or have special needs and special assistance. And that state program does go a little bit further than what we do as far as being able to follow up with those individuals after a tornado or an incident, contacting them and getting services to them. All right. Anything that they have that maybe is not listed can be written in. Training, if they've ever completed any kind of training. This is where we're gonna start getting to the emergency questions.
How prepared they are moving forward for a disaster. Do they have a plan? Do they have a meeting place? And guys, just looking at these questions, these are all things you may want to start thinking about as well. You know, do you have a plan in place? Do you have a meeting, designated meeting spot? Do you have, are your documents protected? I recently figured out that, you know, you better have stuff inside a waterproof bag, you know, otherwise it will get ruined.
Fireproof. Burn rate.
Fireproof, yeah,
Safe.
all of that good stuff. Multiple routes away from home in case of evacuation. I know we always talk about evacuation, but, you know, do you have things that you need if you have to shelter in place? That's what's more likely to happen. You have to shelter in place. So, you know, do you have the supplies in your home? Do you have water, food, flashlight, batteries? You know, do you have, if you were to come into your home and you were incapacitated, would they know where your medicines are? Would they know what to do, you know, in order to assist you? Those are the type of things that you wanna have. And we're gonna provide prepared Denton County books to leave with them, so it'll give them instructions on how to prepare for those situations. But all of these questions, I think, moving forward will be in regards to emergency preparedness.
Isopolis from a couple of years ago taught us some of that stuff, having things ready, enough water and.
Absolutely, you gotta have all of that right now. I mean, it's important because we know, you know, if should a disaster happen or anything happen, there's gonna be a run on the grocery stores, and the way supply chains are now, you wanna be stocked up and ready to go instead of waiting until that last minute, when there may be issues. You know, where do you go if you're gonna evacuate? Do you have a plan? I know when I worked at FEMA, that was something I didn't know. I never thought about it. You know, when we started taking those calls, my first disaster that I worked at FEMA was Hurricane Isaac back in 2012. And it was just surprising that, you know, in that situation, a lot of people just don't know what they're gonna do. They have no clue. So, you know, at least when asking these questions, if nothing else, it'll start to put it on people's minds, the people that you talk to, and as well, it'll start to stick in your mind, hey, I need to, you know, start thinking about some of these things as well, so.
So are y'all looking for a scope and scale of a Katrina type disaster or just a tornado through the neighborhood disaster?
All of it.
Okay.
From small scale to large, you know.
Because it would depend on how big it was.
Yeah.
Right. But most of us who at least thought out if a tornado comes through, okay, what is my plan?
Yeah.
Those of us who have started thinking down that rabbit trail are more likely to see something like this and be like, dang, I do need to look bigger scale. What if a tornado like Katrina came up the coast, and we didn't really get tornado, but we got tropical storm action with major flooding and all that kind of stuff. So this, if they don't, we hope that this starts generating those thoughts and makes them start looking for resources.
Pets, that's another biggie. When people start evacuating, you know, they want to have their pets with them. So that's something you want to think about, because not every hotel will accept your pets. Family members may have allergies to pets when you go to move up there.
Well, having
Just-
papers,
Mhm.
you don't think about having papers.
Like the rabies
Yes.
shots and things like that.
Yes.
And that's all playing on the assumption that your pet is a dog or cat. What happens when it's a boa constrictor? What happens if it's a large bird? What happens if it's one of these mini cows we see everybody with?
Leave brisket out of it.
Well, but it's still hot, because we have horses that come through for shows, and we're
Yes.
able to keep them at our barn because they have papers.
Yes.
But otherwise, we cannot keep those horses.
Right. So those are things you have to start thinking about is, are they required to have papers? Do they need papers? Do I have the papers? And how am I gonna get brisket out of the barn and the miniature cow, the little Highland pony or whatever you have? How am I gonna get him in the back seat of my Prius? Like, where am I gonna go with the Shetland pony, you know, during an emergency? So those are all things.
There are areas in Texas, I think, was it Wichita Falls? I can't remember which. They have agencies in place that will take care of, in emergency situations, that will house and take care of pets. Because they're not allowed in the shelters.
Or in
and
the
they're
hotels.
exotic
Or they're exotics.
pets that, you know, aren't the dog or cat. But they have things in place for those rural areas in Texas. Maybe one day we can get that if the need is big enough. But we have to know, you know, we have to get this information for people.
And there'll be people who just say, I'll leave one bucket of food, and they'll go. Not me, but somebody might.
Not a lot of people are, that's part of their
What's the
family, so.
difference between would not evacuate because of pets would not evacuate? What's the difference between those two answers?
They're just not gonna leave.
Like they're too large.
Right.
I mean, look at the panhandle with the fires.
I think they're just saying here that if I didn't have these pets, I would leave. You know, I think that's basically what
Yeah,
it's saying.
I think the reason GIS put these two questions here is because, like,
The only reason you're staying is because of the pets.
and this is, I wouldn't evacuate, it doesn't matter. Like, I have cows. They're not technically my pets. I could leave them, I would not. So they're not truly a pet, so it's not, I would not evacuate because of pets, but I'm still not gonna evacuate and leave a whole herd of cattle behind.
And then here we get into why won't you evacuate if they're saying that you need to, maybe lack of transportation. Here in Denton, I know during TMS, we showed that, we can rally together and public transportation not be a problem because, what's the?
Buses, DTS?
DTS immediately came in and joined with us, and they were running buses to TMS, running people there if you want to get your vaccine. So we have MOUs in place, but a lot of it is just good people doing good things when they need to. So we need to make sure that we're getting this information so we can already have those services in place. If we need to swing a bus around Sanger and pick up those in need, then yeah, we're not taking it. And I think that's the last.
So this is where we just kind of want to see if our PIOs, our social media, our newspaper notifications, Everbridge, did you get that information? Did you hear about us going to be in the community before?
So were y'all deliberate about asking for that vulnerable people in the household before you got to the how prepared are you for emergency response questions?
I had nothing to do with the order of the questions.
The question, actually, the CDC outlined the order of the questions. So I think probably because it's the CDC, CDC and CASPER now kind of oversee public health emergency preparedness, but it used to be all CDC, and they kind of formulated
Yeah, no, I appreciate the questions. It just seems like asking about emergency response first and then getting to the
I
personal
agree,
stuff.
I agree, because I feel like right off the bat, asking me, do you have disabled people in your house, makes me feel like I'm going down that road about medicine. That's something we can ask GIS about and see if it's too late and too much work.
I think the reason why the CDC asks the question in order that it does is a lot of people don't, I mean, the worst job I ever had in my life was cold calling people for a market research survey while I was going through college, trying to get them to complete surveys on mouthwash.
Yeah.
And you know,
I can see that.
Your traditional respondent is going to get a little bit impatient.
Yeah.
After like the first minute, and so probably the CDC set this up in order to
So if it'd been
make sure
FEMA
that they
driving
got
it,
the
it
most
might have been
important
flipped.
information up front.
Yeah.
Now, my day job is working as a scientist for a company that makes lab tests that you would use at a large hospital or doctor's office. But I was permanently scarred from that experience and grew to appreciate any kind of survey that's done.
Oh, we had another question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I know this is the first time that we use a tablet, so is it okay if they prefer to answer directly on the tablet than me reading the questions and all the potential answers?
Like you hand me to the pay as the resident and me just going through it with you and you just kind of watching me answer it? Is that your question?
No, I think if I was answering the survey, I'd rather
Just read it and answer to yourself?
I'd rather answer the questions. I feel I'll be more open to disclose what I would consider personal information
Than me seeing.
than telling you, yeah, we have this many disabilities and we need these medicines, or it's those
No,
kind of
I'm okay with that and have, if they're able to use it and you're like, we don't want them to run back in the house and take off with it because then I have to explain that.
So like there were some questions that were, I mean, they're gonna take some time. They're pretty long if I read everything and then give you all the potential answers, right?
Yeah.
The possible answers. So,
If you feel like we want you to use your best and safest judgment here. So if you come to a household and they're kind of like, you've done a CASPER before, so what is your opinion?
My thought process would be that we don't
Okay.
hand
For
them.
consistency
Yeah, we don't hand them the
procedure.
iPad and
I
we
agree,
read
they
it.
shut the door.
Give them the
And not get
QR
back out.
Yeah.
Unlock it.
Well,
Okay.
You can do that too.
yeah, unless you're really watching over their shoulders to see that they don't skip a question
Skip
and
questions, and that's why I said standing beside them and kind of reading through it. But if they really don't want to answer the questions in front of you, then I would go to the QR code and tell them, unfortunately, we
I
can't.
think you doing it, you reading it, you control the situation and you kind of move them along at a good pace. But, because if you let them go, I'm gonna go as slow as possible. I'm just gonna, because I read slow, so.
So what's the difference between that and them using the QR code to go fill it out?
You're not giving them access to essentially when we're using the iPad, we're attesting that we're not going to be giving it out, and that could potentially present a security risk for the.
If they prefer to fill it out, we could just hand them it.
Right, if they say, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be taking with the survey, but I don't wanna take it right
Just
now,
give them a
or
QR code.
I don't wanna take it on that thing, just give them a QR code.
Yeah.
And we'll give you guys let's go back to the,
And part of gathering data for statistics is uniformity of process, isn't it? So even though it seems like you fill it out or me fill it out is not a big difference, it may be a big difference from a data gathering perspective. I don't know.
yes, ma'am.
What if they get, halfway through and they just realize, oh, this is taking too long, I'm not, I'm done. Do you just continue to say refuse to answer, or do you start over, or?
That's a good question.
That is a
You
good
could say
question.
refuse
And
to answer
in that
on-
situation, I would probably contact your field operations center and let them clarify with us. If it's one or two questions, we may choose to just omit that house and randomly choose another house to replace it. If they only have like 1 or 2 questions left,
And I think you set the expectation in the beginning and let them know when you first get there that it's gonna, when you're gaining approval to complete the survey, you let them know it's gonna take 10, 15 minutes tops. And I think once you set that expectation, they more than likely will, go ahead and finish it. Just let them know it's 28 questions and we're at question 15, so we only just a couple more.
But if you're cheerful, friendly,
Yes.
and you have a very positive demeanor, they're more likely to complete the survey.
the one thing I was gonna say is every team will have a tracking form, and the tracking form is for every single house. And so on that tracking form,
Paper form.
it's gonna be paper, it'll be on a clipboard. You'll be making notes. Was the house accessible? You'll be making external notes outside of the survey. And this is your perception of what you see and how you talk to them. So if there's something that's like weird or like questionable or something, make a note to the side and bring it back to us. Or something you notice that's like really concerning for their safety or something in the environment or something. I don't know that we can fix it or solve the problem for them, but we can definitely make note of it and see what we can do. These are the type of.
If you go back, I was just pointing to that number 5 on it. And you're being teams of 2 to 3 people. So one person can have the iPad, one person will have this tracking form, just to make it easier. But you do see here, it does have a question down here about, it does have a statement about not finishing the survey. So you can indicate it there as well. But we didn't have a situation where anyone didn't complete it. They started it, they finished it.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us a verbiage of how do we introduce ourselves and how do we best explain the purpose of the survey and why we're there?
Yes.
So on the day that we go out in the field, instead of meeting here or at the public health building, whenever Seth assigns you all to your quadrant, your area, northeast, southwest, we'll also apply or provide you with an address. So maybe the Sanger, those of you who live up in Sanger area, maybe the Sanger baseball field over by the Emory Mansion,
At Porter Park.
Yes, Porter Park. So maybe that'll be our location place.
That's a
So
good
that's where
idea.
you'll muster that morning. We're working with the sheriff's office to get a deputy to come out and do a safety briefing on the general area and then maintain his roaming, whatever they do, in the area so they're available if we need them. And then we'll also go over that. In the packet that we give you, we'll give a complete kind of script for you to follow. Good morning, my name's Felicia. I'm with Denton County Public Health Medical Reserve Corps. We're here to do a CASPER, this is what CASPER, whatever it is. We'll have that entire script laid out for you to introduce yourself, to introduce what we're doing, to introduce the county and the volunteer agency, and then go into the questionnaire.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a laminated card in there, and it'll have the introductory script to give. And once you do that, then you'll ride right into your survey.
That's a whole different.
Say it again, Linda.
She's mixing up her activities.
I was
Mirandizing
getting all confused.
Yeah.
there. I was Mirandizing.
So
But I will provide that in a laminated copy inside the folders that each team has.
And you had a question?
Well, there's 7 columns there on the tracking form. If you
7
had-
houses.
Sorry?
Remember, there's 7 houses that you're gonna interview.
And so is there a correlation between a particular address and a column?
So when we give you your cluster, you'll have maps of your cluster, and you'll have 7 houses already identified in that cluster. And so whatever house, so if we say start in the northeast corner of the neighborhood, that'll be house number 1. The next house will be number 2, the next house. Because we're trying to keep this as non-identifiable, specific to the persons in the home as possible. So we don't want to put their address on these.
So if you remember at the start of the survey, it asked for the cluster number
And your house
and then the house number. So it's just house 1, 2, 3, to 7. So those are the only ones that you're gonna put on the form, the ones that complete the interview.
This is some of the type of information, I mean, this is what we internally have, but we're also working with the VOAD, which is the volunteer organization around Denton.
Sounds good.
The VOAD, which is like our Northeast Texas Men's Baptist group, and food pantries, and Serve Denton, and there's a whole lot of Red Cross, a whole lot of volunteer organizations. They'll be providing some information. Our Office of Emergency Management will be providing information.
The clinic will provide
Public
information.
health, outreach. So a lot of the organizations and people that we work with will be providing information that we'll put into these bags that you'll leave them. So they'll have a lot of resource and information stuff when you walk away from them.
And you may already know about it. I texted you a link to the United Way's Denton County Community Resource Directory. Really nice, comprehensive guide for resources through the county.
And they actually provided that to our VOAD group as well. United Way.
That's it's a really good one.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we'll be putting into the resource goodie bag. Any questions?
We definitely want, again, this is definitely it's not a drill. This is definitely an exercise that's needed here. Again, like I said, coming out of COVID, we want to make sure that we're getting out and finding out the things that we need to address in these communities. A lot of times, again, the unincorporated areas, they kind of get, pushed to the side because they don't have, local government
Emergency
there.
managers and.
So we have to be out there, and it's difficult for us because we're responsible for the entire county, but we want to make sure that we're going out and touching them and making sure they know they're seen. So we thank you guys. We thank you guys for lending us your time. We appreciate all the work that you do, and I'm going to make sure. I'm gonna tell you now. I'm gonna get you lunch.
So is this the only training that we need for the CASPER? Okay, so now on the logistics question. Somebody will be emailing us with whatever muster point we need for April 6th.
Yes.
We meet at the muster point, you meet the rest of the people in our group, I guess. How are we going to figure out who's going to drive? Will we be driving our own vehicle? Will there be a vehicle provided for us?
You will be driving your own vehicles out there. It will be up to you guys once you get there. Seth will be divvying up the teams, but once you get there, you'll decide who drives or
if a driver's needed.
If a driver's needed, well, they'll have to drive to the point.
To the point, yeah.
But you guys will make that decision. We want, people that are comfortable with each other on teams, so.
But also you're free, I mean, if you wanna take 3 cars and park them at the park at the square, town square in Sanger, or wherever your area is, you're free to drive all 3 cars and park at the beginning of the neighborhood or in a center, whatever you're comfortable with. We're not gonna dictate how you move yourself.
I just was trying to figure out how the logistics works, that's all.
But yes, you'll be getting communicated, we'll be communicating with everyone on exactly the address that you muster at, the time, and then once you get there, you'll get the safety briefing. Just-in-time training that is just gonna go over your
And I think Seth sent out, I think when he sent it out, he maybe divided up and to see what areas you guys wanted to work. So
He already sent some.
he already sent
So
that.
he'll be sending more information out.
Okay. So it'll be more information. We're gonna kind of bombard you guys as we get closer. As we get the information, we're gonna make sure to get it out to you so you know, and everything will be squared away. Yes, ma'am.
So we have groups of 3 people going out, and you're going into a cluster of 7 houses.
Are we going separate ways, or do we all go to the same house at the same time?
All go to the same house together.
Okay, good.
I don't know if there's gonna be another training, so this is the only one?
No, we're recording the information so that we, instead of
So instead of another in-person training
Yeah.
that pulls everybody in on a Saturday that can or cannot get here, or a weekday, which we also know is problematic for some of us who work, this is being recorded. We're gonna upload it maybe to YouTube through the county, I'm not sure. So this will be available for anybody to review, and if you have questions, you can email Seth or Dayton and I. And then we'll have a just-in-time training at the Field Operations Center. Yes, ma'am.
Will each group only have those 7 houses and then we're done?
It depends on our volunteer cohort. If we have enough volunteers to have a team of 3 for each cluster, then that's it. 2 to 3 for each cluster, then that's all that they'll do. If we have some clusters that are really close to each other and we're short on volunteers for the teams, we may have those teams go to 2 or 3 clusters, so they may have like 14 houses instead of just 7. It really just depends on how large our volunteer cohort checks out to be. Yes, sir.
On the email, it says times are still not defined yet. So when do you think, especially for Wednesday, when do you think the times are going to be defined?
I said I couldn't come because I didn't know it was only afternoon, but now I can come since it's afternoon.
Right, and that's, I think that was the reason he was kind of TBD, is because we hadn't decided whether we're gonna do like midday or mid-afternoon. My preference is mid-afternoon, like we would meet maybe 2:30 or 3 and head out 3:30 and kind of hit that window between 3 and 6. But I try to have input from our team, so we'll discuss that this next week, and you should have.
Saturday will be morning time.
Saturday will be morning, afternoon probably on Wednesday, which will open it up to many other people who maybe can't take the whole day, but they could leave early.
Then again, would that might be predicated upon how many houses you need to hit for that Wednesday?
Partially, yes. So Seth is out today and he's out Monday, but he will be here Tuesday, so I am going to anticipate, and I'm gonna make a note so I don't forget, that by next Friday, we can get an email out that gives you a better time frame for that Wednesday date, so that if you have not signed up for Wednesday and you think you might be available, you'll have that information.
Okay, so going back to logistics, we meet at whatever muster point we're told to meet at for our little cluster or area. At that point, will people be passing out the clipboards, the goodie bags, the vests? We don't have to like pick them up at Denton County before we go out to our cluster area.
They'll be at everything will be there for you with your MRC leader. Somebody else had a question.
I had a quick question. So if some place is inaccessible, we'll call in and you guys are gonna give us another place.
Yes.
I was just looking at that tracking form where you only have 7 houses there and one of the questions is inaccessible. So
It's only gonna you're only gonna fill that out for the houses that we're completing the surveys at. That's.
So then why would it say inaccessible if, why would the tracking form say inaccessible?
But to answer your question, if you call into us and we say, and you say the house is vacant or it's partially burnt down, that would be inaccessible. And so let's say that's house number 5. You would mark on that. I would say you would mark on that unaccessible, but we will probably give you a backup form, and on the backup form, you would put maybe replacement house number 5.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because there's only 7 things there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I wanted.
I knew where you were going. I could see his face, and he's like, I don't know, it's a government form. Yes, ma'am.
Alicia, I was thinking the same thing about the door hanger tags, that maybe we might need a couple extra.
So that's something we have not finalized, that the door hanger tags. Our thought process on that was initially that the door hangers would have their house number, because we're not blanketing the whole community, right? So you're coming to my house, and my house is cluster 14, and my house is house number 6 or 5 or whatever. the door hanger, if I'm not available, the door hanger should coincide, because when they scan that and they open up the QR code, I need to know what house, what cluster I'm in.
Right.
So initially, Joshua and Seth and I talked about making those door hangers specific to the house. So if I don't answer, I can't answer the questions right now, but I'll take the survey later. You can't get my gate. You leave it, but it's specific to my house. But then having backup ones, so if you have a replacement home, then you can write that information on the door hanger.
Yeah.
We have been thinking about it, we just hadn't finished the process.
Another quick question. The hangers on the doors, I know I live in Flower Mound, they put hangers of notifications on the doors. We happen to have a notification on the neighbor's house across the street, and we had that great big windstorm come through and it blew it off. Have we thought about something like that?
That's a good one.
You know, we're gonna take tape and tape it on there?
Or the, you can't see. That's why you guys are here, to make us look smart. You had a question in the back.
I have one question. I know when we first signed up, they asked kind of areas where we might be able to work. And I think I put Sanger and I forget where I put. Are we gonna re-ask that question? Because I now realize I'm about a minute from quad 2 and an hour from quad 4.
Okay. I'll make a note of it, and I'll have Seth, when he sends it back out, sends the confirmation out to look at that, because you're right, and Dayton and I have talked about this as well. For him, he's technically closest to quad 3. Is it 3 or 4? Whoever's in the southern part. But if he's coming from the office, maybe it's closer to the western portion. So it just, but I'll make sure to make a note and have Seth re-ask that question. Yeah.
Good question.
I know we're not selling anything, but if you come up to a front door and they have one of those no solicitation signs there, do you honor that or what?
That's a great question. I would say.
I did not. Okay, I went ahead and knocked on the door, and the gentleman said to me, "Oh, it's no soliciting." I said, "I'm not soliciting." Right. And I explained to him what we were doing. He had no problem. He filled out the survey.
And then if they refuse, then.
They refuse, they refuse.
Yeah, you say, I'm not selling anything, da, 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 da. Just wanna ask them questions.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I would have been like, okay.
What was his question?
So the question was, some homes have no solicitation.
Oh, right,
signs.
exactly. Okay.
So
Okay.
everybody's saying just go ahead and tell them we're not selling and try to move forward.
Earlier you mentioned putting those door hangers in a mailbox. You're not supposed to put things like that in a mailbox.
Not in the mailbox, but.
Yeah, like on the
flag or on the hook or.
All right.
Oh, so you can't.
And I think some people may even have that door at their gate, the ring thing, the camera. So you may have that out there as well. Some people have that.
Come on, Gina.
Question back here?
Yeah, any reason whether then why it could be?
Yes, we do have, we actually just established backup dates. Now, if it's just raining, it would have to be heavy lightning to cancel, like lightning in the area to cancel. If it's just drizzling, raining, we'll still go, but we do have alternate dates. I don't remember what dates we have, but we'll get that information out.
I was gonna say, I don't have them off the top of my head. I have them written down on a scratch paper on my desk. That's taped, not rubber bands.
Well, let's just assume the first day will go perfectly.
That's my.
I'm for that.
I assume that 100%. If it doesn't, or we are anticipating weather, then we'll email everyone with a notification that in the event of severe lightning, torrential rains, whatever, that we'll cancel and reschedule, and then that will go out with our social media and PIO team as well, and notification to you guys if it's going to be if we're looking at potentially canceling, if there's a cancellation and of those alternative dates. But I wanna say when I looked at them, I basically just kinda shifted them. So like Saturday, instead of the first day being Saturday, the first day would be Wednesday or Thursday, and the second day would be the following Saturday or something. We just shifted them by a few days. We still kept the midweek and Saturday schedule and just shifted them by a few days.
Are we supposed to go in their house, or can we ask them to come out to the porch? Oh, no.
Just knock on the door and ask if they have a few minutes at the door.
Yeah, don't enter,
Yeah,
do
'cause I
not,
don't wanna.
Don't go inside the house.
great point to bring up, do not enter anyone's home. We interview outside.
Good.
Great question. Yes, sir.
I may have missed this, but is it possible to have a list of do's and don'ts when you hand out the packets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I put that.
Just a bullet.
You know, like the solicitation, the mailbox, you know, don't climb fences.
Absolutely.
That's it.
No, I can absolutely add that to the packet. What other questions you got?
Is there a specific person in the home that you need to question? So if an 18-year-old opens the door, is that the person that you can ask the questions?
18 and older,
And they live and they reside.
and they reside there, yes. So it could be the same. If he's 18 and older, we'll interview if they're willing.
You getting 2 tablets per team or?
Just one.
Okay, so what? I mean, we're gonna be 100% sure batteries are good or?
So,
Jennifer,
no.
you wanna take that?
Absolutely not, it's technology, come on. So we'll have iPads for each team. I'm working on getting backup batteries. I may not have enough for every team, but I'll have enough at least hopefully for the operations center that maybe we can get a runner to run those out and switch out if you need them. We'll also provide you with a couple of.
Is there a nurse or any kind of medical person?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody's hitting the bottom, Sherry.
How many of us do you think is gonna take?
They need 5 nurses, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I've got a doctor.
She has a nose that won't stop. She's a little worried. Sit right here.
Alright, so
So on your iPad, what kind of connector do you have on it?
Probably
Is it lightning?
Yes. It's a lightning connection.
So
All
if we had
iPads
a,
have lightning.
yeah, if we had a charging cable, then we could use that to help.
right, so if you have an Apple product in your car and you can charge it, by all means, if you
I
like to.
carry lots of cables with me.
Us too, hold on.
So if we got real desperate, we could just do the thing on our phone?
Possibly, or if your thing died and they have their phone available, you can scan the QR code
Yeah,
and
because we got
assist
the
them.
nice little QR code on.
Yeah, that, you could assist them with their phone through the QR code, yeah. Any other questions?
Would we need to tell them that the QR code is
Valid.
specific for their house so they don't start passing it around
Yes.
the
Yes.
neighborhood?
So we have a backup plan for that. That's a great question. And that was something we were like, oh, what if I share it with all my neighbors? On our side of it, the back side of it, GIS will have identified those homes. So even if you bring it to me and I'm like, you know what, this would be really good for my neighbor next door. They just moved in to answer. Oh, and then the elderly couple down the road, I'm gonna take it to them. When those surveys come in, and we're reviewing that data, I already know that house number 1234 on Elm Lane is the house identified. So if house 567 and 014 also filled it out, I'm just gonna push that survey away and only use the one that.
But how would you know?
Because they put their address.
What was the address?
It asks no other personal information, it does ask for their address. There's ice. We'll be right back.
Okay, who wants another cookie? Anybody else at the table? I would say, I'm ready for you guys to pass the sucker around. There you go. Take one, too.
Oh, you too.
But I don't want to cookie.
Thank you.
Oops. You're being good.
I'm trying.
Say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you're getting your green and you won't get pinched tomorrow. And obviously now I need to know the rate.
Any other questions?
That would be helpful.
Was that it?
Great questions.
Video. Is that it?
Yeah, if there are no other questions, Felicia, you have-
If we have no other questions, please make sure you signed in, because I want to make sure everybody got it.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I know this is a lot of the pre and day of. Are there any expectations of us for afterwards? I know there was a mention of AAR, or what that anticipated timeline could look like once all the data is collected.
Yeah, at the end of it, there is no, there's nothing that we would need. At that time, what we can do, I think all the data will be analyzed by our GIS and EPI team, so there's no requirements for our volunteers.
So on the days of, we're hoping to have lunch, so when you come back and you drop off your gear, you'll have lunch, you can take a break and stick around, you can leave. Seth will have more specific on that. He may want to do an after action eventually, closer to the fall, regarding the CASPER, but our immediate after action will be regarding the survey itself and that data. And then he'll be communicating with all of you that were to volunteer with us for more after action information regarding you as volunteers, the event, the experience, the ham radio testing that we'll do, and that stuff.
So there will be
Eventually.
a survey that will be sent out. And because you guys are gonna tell us where we can improve, how we can improve, and all that information. We count on that information so that we can do the best job we can for the county. So there will be an after action, but we don't have time for that, the data time for it.
And there'll probably be a debriefing, like a hot wash.
Yes.
At the
End of the day when
at the
you go to
field
turn
center.
your, yes.
All right, if no one has any other.
As it relates to the ham, will you be having an active net during the survey while people are out and about collecting the information?
Yes.
Yes. That was a lot of confidence.
I know exactly.
I felt really good about that.
That is his aspiration, yes.
Thank you.
I want to get with the guys that actually know about ham ready.
If you have any questions you think of,
But I feel like yes is the answer to that
That's a
question.
good answer, yeah.
You don't usually get out.
All right, so my question here is, okay, when you go to muster point, we have team leader issuing their reviews. After we're done, this is the part that I'm not really.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Tell me your name.
We're gonna have races.
Go ahead and contact them,
so from the muster point, that is gonna be.
We might, so you, the Honor Guard does funerals and everything?
Yeah, that's
Thank you.